Welcome to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, AKA Possibility Man. We're committed to bringing you guests who strive to better people's lives and serve as a force for good in the world. Today, our guest is Shonda Eaton, AKA Coach Renae. She is the founder of Renae Health and Fitness. She helps clients reverse chronic health conditions, and she also guides them to discover a healthy version of themselves at any age. Coach Renae, welcome to the show today.
Thank you, Stephen, for having me. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, terrific. Hey, look, I know that you reside in the state of Indiana in the United States, but tell us about yourself, about your background, your education, your professional career outside of your business. Who is Coach Renae?
Well, Stephen, I am a mother of one, a wife to one. So I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a respiratory therapist, and I am a online health and fitness coach.
Fantastic. Yeah,
Go ahead.
respiratory therapist. So what do you do as a respiratory therapist?
So as a respiratory therapist, I have been working in the field for the last 30 years in the clinical, in the hospital settings. I work now in the pediatric hospital, but I've worked with adult patients, dealing really with anything breathing. If you're not breathing, hey, I'm at the head of your bed telling you it's okay, and I got you, and I'm going to do it for you.
That's fantastic.
So I also deal with a lot of patients with some chronic inflammation with like asthma. I've treated patients with chronic lung disease, cancer, you name it. If it's affecting your breathing, I am there.
Right. Now you also mentioned a pediatric hospital, I believe. So you've also worked with children in a clinical setting?
Yes. I have worked with kids for the last 21 years. I've worked with mainly pediatrics with asthma. I've worked mainly in the emergency department. I've worked in the neonatal intensive care unit, in the pediatric intensive care unit. I've done it. I've kind of done it all.
I understand. Look, I'm really curious about this, and I'm sure some of our viewers or listeners would be as well. What is it like for you working with, let's say, a child that's gasping, trying to get the next birth? What is it like for you to work with such a patient and then to get this patient to a point where he or she is able to settle in and breathe, with whatever equipment you use with them?
Well, Stephen, like I said, I've been doing it for so long. I've been doing it for 20, I've been working with peds for 21 years, but doing this, working as a respiratory therapist for 30 years. And so it's really just second nature. It's just something that kicks in immediately. I come in and I can see, just assess the situation, assess my patient from the door, and I'm able to, evaluate what they need.
Right.
And so kind of move into action. A lot of that, may require to calm the child. You may have to play some games. You may have to bribe. And you also have to calm the parents in the room as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine that it's important for a health practitioner, because you said something that's very important. You got to calm the child, but you also need to, calm the parents as well, or any gardener. So do you have to practice yourself, staying in control? Because I can imagine someone easily getting out of control. But so how do you get that to that point? I mean, is that just second nature to you as well?
It is really just second nature. I am pretty calm and easygoing. It's not too much that kind of gets me riled up. There's some things that make me move a little bit faster and can urge other people in the room to move a little bit faster. If there's definitely a sense of urgency, but it is just, your instincts kind of kick in. You will just move into doing what you know to do. And it is, I don't know, it's just It doesn't even matter what is in front of you. You deal with what was right there to deal with to
Right.
make that better and help that patient.
Yeah. Well, Coach Renae, I mean, I can see that this must be, a gift. I believe that people have certain gifts. And in just talking with you, I know without a doubt that what you do in the medical field is a gift, and you were blessed with the qualities that are needed, to function with ease. I can see that. Okay, look, so you're in the health profession, you're doing well, you are extremely successful, and then you decided to become an entrepreneur. What prompted you to look in this direction?
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for asking me that question. And a lot of people have asked me that same question, hey, you've been doing respiratory care for all these years, and now you are going into the online health and fitness entrepreneur world. And what really prompted me was I wanted to be able to impact others in a different way. I've watched my family members' lives cut short due to health issues. So I wanted to be able to impact lives in a different way.
Yeah.
When you see people in the hospital settings, they're at their worst of worst. They're having probably the worst day ever. And so that's a totally different setting. So one of the reasons why I created Renew with Renae was that I wanted to help people to break that cycle of chronic health issues that maybe you've seen your grandmother, your aunt, your uncle have. I wanted to be able to impact lives in a different way. And I didn't really see opportunities to really kind of do that in the hospital setting. And so I was like, okay, well, why not create it? I decided to create a business to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. So when you speak of chronic conditions, what kinds of health challenges come to mind? And one, two, or three, or one or two.
So a lot of a lot of chronic conditions that come to mind that I've heard even, as a young child would be, high blood pressure, hypertension, diabetes. People call it, I got a touch of the sugar.
Yeah.
Asthma is a chronic condition. Obesity, it can be definitely a chronic condition. So, and the one that really kind of got me even in the healthcare field was at 14 years old, I moved in with my grandmother to help her out because she had kidney disease. Her kidneys were failing. And so she had to have dialysis 3 times per week. And so at 14 years old, I moved in to kind of help her with that. And because of that experience, I knew that I wanted to be able to help people in a different way to prevent their lives from being cut short, which is why I entered into the healthcare arena. I mean, that's why one of the reasons why I became a respiratory therapist.
Yeah, and I have talked with people. I'm sure anyone listening to this podcast or watching this interview on Facebook or YouTube or elsewhere will have known someone with, let's say, high blood pressure.
Yeah.
And they probably know someone who is on 2 or more medication and have been on it for 20 or 30 years. Have you encountered anyone in your practice who has been, for example, on high blood pressure medication for at least a decade?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Stephen, I have encountered many people, even some, including family members who have been on high blood pressure medication for decades. Matter of fact, one of my clients that I work with, she was 71 years old, and she took a leap of faith and actually participated in one of my programs. And she was able to come off of one of her medications at 71.
That's
And so,
fantastic.
yeah, I just wanted to be able to show her the possibilities, even at that age.
Yeah,
I don't believe just because you hit a certain number that everything is just over for you. And
right.
so, um, that was just great to just see her make that leap,
That's
to be come off with some of those medications.
Yeah, I like that. And I like the words that you just used too, possibility. It's
Yeah.
possible to come up. So I mean, and also, I mean, and I'm thinking about the people that I know, that I've, including relatives who have issues with their cholesterol, especially their LDL, that, lousy
Mhm. Mhm.
cholesterol. And once again, they're popping pills like they're candy. Have you seen that in your practice?
Yes, I have. I have. I have. When we go to our doctors and we have problems, a lot of times they're going to give us a medication for it. And what is interesting is that the medication that they will give us definitely will cause a side effect. And so then you maybe kind of temporarily gain some relief for one problem, but then you have to have another medication to resolve the other issue that you had.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that I love my physicians, but I definitely want a different route where we're not popping pills just because pill after pill after pill.
Right.
So
Yeah, there's a game back in the day. I don't recall the name of it, but there was some little like fist that comes out from the machine, and you take something and you hit one, and it goes down. Then another one pops up, and you hit
mhm.
that one. And I think you're right. And this is what happens when someone gets on the medication treadmill. Now, and also before we'll hit another chronic disease, and we'll do more with this. The same, but you mentioned diabetes. I mean, so some people think that, they got to take, as much insulin as whatever, I don't know about diabetes treatment, but have you seen any indication in your work that a person can improve their A1C, for example, if they live with diabetes, or even reverse type 2 diabetes? What have you seen?
Yes, I have seen in my work and personally, Stephen, to reverse those diagnoses and improve your A1C. It takes it only takes 3 months to improve your A1C, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah,
by making some changes, some subtle changes, you can improve your A1C. But always the how do I do it?
right.
I'll tell you a story. About 10 years, about in I think it was like 2010. I just had my daughter. She was 2 years old, and I had, new mom, wife, and still working, all this kind of stuff. Kind of put on some pounds, and I was frustrated. I gone to my doctor, and she told me that I had hypertension, that my blood pressure was elevated, and that I was pre-diabetic. She goes,
Mhm.
not to want to put you on medicine, but you're pre-diabetic. And so things were just getting worse. I was waking up tired, my body hurt all the time. And I thought I was relatively young. I was in my 30s with all of this going on. I looked like I was pregnant again. I was feeling just miserable, and I've already had gone on diets and stuff like that. And so I'm at my doctor's, and she suggested diet pills. So she prescribed diet pills. And I thought, okay, finally, I got it. This is going to work. This is going to, definitely I'm going to lose the weight, which kind of will definitely hopefully help that pre-diagnosis of pre-diabetes, decrease my blood pressure, all the things. And I thought these were magic pills. And I was just so wrong. Yes, I lost some weight. However, it came with a price.
Yeah.
And the price was that I had a lot of side effects from those medications that I was taking every day, I think 3 times a day. Then I had to see my doctor every 30 days. for a refill and for a weight check. And that was probably the most embarrassing part. And, and then I was like, okay, well, what happens when I stop? I don't want to take these medications forever. So what happens when I stop? And my doctors just simply will, Missy, you're just going to have to eat in moderation and exercise, which I was already doing, but I'm not getting any better.
Yeah, I see.
So
Yeah,
I had to take matters into my own hands.
yeah, that's the thing. And neither one of us, is a medical doctor. Even we're talking about the space, but it seems like, tell me if you agree or disagree, but it seems to me that in our culture, and I'm talking about the culture worldwide, that people somehow have come to expect a pill for every ill. That is, if something goes wrong, they go to the doctor, they're looking for a prescription, for that. What do you think about that assertion of mine? Am I far off with that?
No, you are not far off at all. I do believe that, people understand that we need to eat healthy and exercise, that we should. Anyway, we should eat healthy and exercise. However, we have gotten to the point where we will go to the doctor and say, hey, this is what's going on, and take prescription, go have it filled, pop the pills, with the expectation that they're magic pills, just like I thought those diet pills were magic pills, that they're going to solve all of our problems. And they do not. They do not solve your problems.
Right. I was reading, I'm sorry, did I cut you in mid-sentence? I was reading a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, something, I don't know what it was, but they were talking about a new drug to treat inflammation. Because bad inflammation is the source of body discomfort. And I checked that drug on WebMD, and just like you said, they said, they reported that this drug will reduce inflammation and some body discomfort. But the list of side effects I saw was absolutely scary. So yeah. But anyway, let me probe this a little bit more. And let me ask the question this way, because this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, wait a minute. There's some chronic conditions, including inflammatory stress, that must be related to lifestyle. And by lifestyle, I mean, that big hamburger that someone eats twice a day, or that fried chicken that they eat 2 or 3 times a week, or back in the day when I was a boy growing up, we call it butts meat. I think people call it fat back as well. So so or bacon, bacon. So here's my question, Coach Renae. Are some chronic conditions a result of lifestyle? That is, are some diseases, is it fair for me to say or categorize some diseases as lifestyle diseases? The way I live is one of the reasons why this condition may exist in my reality. What do you think about that? Lifestyle diseases.
I so agree with that there are definitely lifestyle diseases. As you talk about that and you ask that question, I can't help but to think back on my family and the health issues that I watch a lot of my close family members deal with and ultimately die from, because they were, just like you said, lifestyle diseases. Because we take on, what do we say? We kind of pass on like tradition. It's a tradition to, eat certain foods and be okay with it, which means that you'll have certain diseases or chronic illnesses that others had. So I do believe that lifestyle does play a role, and we have to be willing. I was willing to totally change my lifestyle, to make radical changes in my life, because after a while, going to the doctor, probably for about 6 months, I decided that, okay, it won't matter if I'm thin. It won't matter if I'm thin if I don't have good health. So I had to really kind of focus on my health in order to change, which meant that I had to change. I had to make a lifestyle change for me, not just for my daughter, not for my husband, but for just for me.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the messages here is that people get to understand that they can take certain situations into their own hands, including some chronic conditions. And by the way, I just want to say for the record, I'm well doctored. I live with muscular dystrophy. In fact, this thing in the back here is one of the machines I use when I walk around inside my house. So, I'm not anti-doctor, but even with that, if I walk into an office, Coach Renae, a doctor sees me, he would assume that I need Oxycontin or something like that. But I don't take any drugs whatsoever. And knock on wood, I don't need any today because of what you're talking about. So let's talk some about then your understanding of lifestyle as one pathway. And I don't want to say, that it's the only thing, and I don't want to exclude other things. No, I'm not talking about acute problems that needs your help when this kid comes into into your hospital. But in terms of chronic things, so what's your approach? How do you get someone who says, okay, Coach Renae, I'm tired of taking these blood pressure pills. I'll do anything to get off of them. What and not too specific. I don't want you to give me a prescription, but what kinds of things come to mind for you in helping that person?
So one of the biggest things that we do, or I do, with Renae Health and Fitness LLC, is that we have to address definitely health, which includes your overall health, which includes your mindset. So we have to definitely address that mindset. And that is probably one of the biggest things that we have to overcome and we have to kind of shift. Other two things that we work on: accountability. You have to be accountable. If you're not going to be accountable to yourself, then me as a coach, then I'm going to hold you accountable. And that goes along with being persistent. You have to be persistent. Now, you with muscular dystrophy, you know that you cannot do something one day and then not do it the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day and expect things to be okay.
Yeah.
So you have to look at your mindset, you have to be accountable, you have to be persistent.
Yeah. I like that, but mindset, I like to tell people or share with people, not tell people, or share with people that they have the power because, it's so easy to think that it's your doctor or Coach Renae. It's easy to see you, and say, well, you got the power, Coach Renae, but it's the person, that has the power. And of course, if that person recognizes that, you could guide them around some steps that, they could solve their problem for sure. Yeah. So what about cholesterol problem? How do you guide a person around that? Is it the same approach that is mindset first and then, whatever you tailor for them?
So if they're looking at, a specific problem like that with their cholesterol, then definitely we are looking at still their mindset, being accountable, and being persistent. But we're also focusing, doing all of those things with their diet.
Yeah.
And then we're coming up with an exercise or a daily movement program.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
That is tailored to them because, not everyone wants to kind of jump around or can jump around, run, or walk long distance. So we come up with things for them to be able to do.
Yeah.
In order to address those health issues.
That's great, Coach. I mean, that's great. I love what you said because, in my case, I can't walk independently. However, it does not mean that I can't move.
That's right.
Or a 90-year-old may not be able to walk independently, but that does not mean that that person can have no movement. So I love what you said about that. So any stories, and before you respond, I want you to think about some stories, and I want to share one with you, maybe two, but I want you to think of some stories of people you've worked with, and I know we don't want to mention names or anything like that, and then share with us what you've seen with them. But I'll tell you what I've seen in my work, and that is I have seen individuals who have diabetes improve their A1C, and actually show that the diabetes is in remission. I've also seen people who have lowered their blood pressure, I mean, to the lowest level that they ever experienced. And I've seen people lower their total cholesterol by just doing the kinds of things that you're saying. So what stories can you share with us about what you've seen in some of your clients?
Thank you. So the first client that comes to mind, when I worked with her, she was 49 years old. And I will say that she was diagnosed years previously with fibromyalgia. Fibromyalgia, is a disease process that causes a lot of pain in their joints and just being touched and everywhere. So that's due to inflammation.
Mhm.
And so before I started working with her, I asked her a question. I asked her what was holding her back from achieving better health. And we do an evaluation I do an evaluation before I start working with anyone. And so one of the things that she told me was, well, self-motivation. She goes, I'm not motivated.
Mhm.
I'm depressed. She's depressed, so she deals with a lot of depression, the chronic fatigue, just not having any energy. And then she says sometimes laziness.
Yeah.
So that was a lot, right?
Yeah.
So after working, we worked, together for 6 weeks, and we worked hard. She was in it. She pushed herself. She didn't push herself too much when it wasn't necessary, definitely. But she went from definitely not sleeping because she didn't have a good sleeping routine, and being in bed most days. She would spend most days in bed until probably about 2, 3 in the afternoon. And she was married and she had a teenage daughter, and she didn't have much energy. And so after working together and worked on her diet, she was definitely able to decrease her inflammation. Her inflammatory markers came down. She had more energy to like make dinner and do things for herself. She was able to start a movement or exercise routine, with light yoga and walking on a daily basis. And that was great for her.
Yeah.
She was, um, she was very grateful because that was something that she hadn't been able to do in years. And that was because she was able to focus on her health. So she was able to do those things. And as a bonus, she definitely shed some weight as well.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Another client of mine, like I said, was able to drop one of her medications, and she was pre-diabetic, and she was able to turn that diagnosis around as well. And one of my younger clients was dealing with more depression. And believe it or not, depression will affect you, physically. Will make things really actually will bring disease on.
Mhm.
And she was able to turn a lot of that around. And we worked together. We worked on her diet because some of your foods definitely can make your depression worse and make you even more irritable. So we worked with her diet and a movement routine, and she was able to turn that around.
Well, that's wonderful, Coach Renae. I mean, I love what you said about that. And I'm so pleased that you even mentioned, depression, because I'm sure you would agree that health is holistic. It's a kind of holistic way that we approach health. So thank you for sharing that. So let me ask you this. So what you're telling us is that you as a coach is not trying to replace a person's physician, is that you want them to see their physician. Is that about right? But at the
Yes,
same time, you're saying that there is an alternative path that a person can take to take their health back into their own hands, and you can help them do that.
absolutely. Absolutely. That is exactly what I am saying. I do not encourage, matter of fact, I encourage my clients before they start working with me that they have had their physical, that they've talked to their physician. We're going to come up with goals, because you got to have goals. Like, where are you going? How do you know where you're going if you don't have goals? So to work with their physicians as well, tell them what they're trying to do. So we do not stop any medications or anything like that. I am not a physician, but I do try to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
That when you do get that diagnosis and you don't know what to do, and you maybe even have this medication and you don't even know what to do with it.
Right.
So, Stephen, so my calling definitely is inspiring and coaching decisive individuals who are ready to reverse those chronic illnesses and decrease those daily medications in their life.
Wow.
And it's all about learning different strategies to improve your life, to extend your life. So go ahead.
No, I mean, yeah, and I think most physicians would be happy that their patients, are doing things to help themselves, especially with an informed coach like yourself. So
Yes, that is, and that is my ultimate goal, is to even work with, be referred, have physicians to refer their patients
yeah,
to me, ones that are, like I said, decisive, and this is
yeah,
what they made up in their mind and made the commitment to move on to do this.
yeah,
Yes.
and this is important, and I want to put it into the record because we're not. This conversation is not about people taking themselves off of any of their medications, but as you've just indicated, to work with their physicians as they work with you to try to, see their health outcomes are changing. So, yeah. Okay.
So, and I will say, Stephen, that all of my clients, the ones that were able to decrease the amount of medications, they were seeing their physicians. And I encouraged them. I was like, hey, when you go to your physician, make sure that you let them know that you are being coached by an online health and fitness coach. And this is what we're doing. This is the eating plan. I'm not a dietitian. However, I will create an eating plan to see what's going to work for that individual, because not all one thing will work for everyone. So, and what they have done with that, when they go for their follow-up visits, which is normally 3 months later, and they get the lab works and all of that kind of stuff, and then the physician makes that decision to decrease that medication, not me.
Yeah. So do you find that that your clients then, let's say that they've been with you for, I don't know, just pick a time, and they go to have their blood work done, and they notice that all of those indicators, that were pretty bad before are going down or going in the right direction. Do they come back to you with excitement, or do they come back to you saying, how did they react when they discover, their health turning around?
They are very excited. They are very excited about that, because especially when you have been on, a blood pressure medication for years and years and years, or even medication for your cholesterol for years, or diabetes, all this kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, after being persistent and holding yourself accountable and, doing the things that, we have worked together and come up with this plan for you to do. And then all of a sudden your numbers start to shift, and your doctor is asking you. I had one of my clients, her doctor asked, said, well, what are you doing? Yeah. Tell me about this coach that you see, that you talk with every week. What is it that she's doing? Because I've been trying to get you to do this X, Y, and Z for years. And all of a sudden you're seeing this person. So you tell me, what is it that she's doing?
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And Coach Renae, and here's what I take from what you're saying is that, as patients, when we go see a doctor, we think that we're the silent one and the doctor does the talking, the doctor tells us what to do. But what you're saying is that if a patient or a client for you informs the doctor of what they're doing, then the client has an opportunity, in this case, to educate their doctor about something that can help, the next patient. Is that about right? That we are empowered and we're also in a position to share helpful things with a doctor who may not be, they're trained in pharmacology for the most part, who may not be, aware of the kinds of things that you do.
Absolutely. It is definitely about empowering people over their health, over their life.
Mm.
That's really what it's about. And what I've actually found, Stephen, is that the physicians, they like it, they love it.
Yeah.
Because I am helping their client.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they went to medical school to treat and help people, but they wanted to make them better. Right. And so really they have like an idea of, okay, I made you better, so now I want to move on to the next one. You don't need.
Yeah. That's exciting.
Really the goal is for them to help one. Okay, you're good. Now I'm going to move on and help this other one.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, that's so exciting. So you go to the physician when you need that physician, you got a broken leg or whatever, you get fixed up and you go back out into the world. So that's very exciting. Coach Renae, as you can see, I'm smiling from ear to ear because what you're sharing just rings true for me. And I just have this sense that if anyone talks with you that, that they'll move their health in the right direction. Before we end today, I want to ask you, is there anything else that I have not asked that you wish to share with our viewers, if they're watching this on video, or listeners, if they're listening to this on a podcast audio?
So yes, I would like to share that I am actually starting up a new 6-week Renew with Renae program that will start in a couple of weeks. So that if there is anyone out there who is pre-diabetic, who is taking hypertension medication or at an unhealthy weight, you're experiencing some chronic fatigue or even that brain fog where you can't really kind of focus, and you want more energy and you're wondering if this is the health option for you, it's easy to find out more about me. It's easy to contact me. You can definitely get on my contact me through Calendly link. It's www.calendly.com/renewwrenae.com. And I'll give that to you so you can put that in your link, in the link so that they can contact me. And I would love to talk with anyone.
That's fantastic. I was going to ask you that if you would provide me with, all of your contact information, any website, whatever you have, so that I could put it wherever I write the description for this podcast. Well, Coach, it was truly a pleasure talking with you. I'm going to call on you again because I'm thinking we need a roundtable with other, practitioners and just to talk about what's possible in a human being's life if they want to. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you so much for having me. It has been my pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I have loved it. And yes, let me know anytime.
Okay, great. Well, you've been listening to the Possibility Action Network podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Middleton, AKA Possibility Man. Our guest today is Shonda Eaton, AKA Coach Renae. Renae, Coach, thank you once again for being with us today.
Thank you.